Here we go. Thanks for stopping by. So coffee is just been made. Ubi nice and steamy. And here we are, whistling duck. Now this is at the end of June. Lovely, just beautiful weather, nice and calm, and perfect opportunity, as you're about to see. Pan around here. So strap up this ladder. There I am pointing. There's the ladder. Goes up a fair way. Unfortunately, right at the top, I'm about 6 foot, thereabouts, short. Now, if you have a look closely, just off my elbow there's a line. This line is the halyard for the storm jib, and I've got it running over on the sitting pelican, and there's also another line going across. So put the coffee down, and what I'm doing here is I'm just adjusting the tension of the main sail, or the main sail halyard. And I've got that using a soft shackle and then a triangular tie off at the top of the ladder. And then with the loose end, that's coming down. I've wrapped it around the mast, then woven through the rungs on the ladder, back around the mast, around the cleats, and then coming back through the ladder and down to this cleat here where you see I'm tying off. Just checking. Yeah, that looks a bit better. Hands in the pocket, that usually means we're good to go. So here we are. There's a few chicken burgers in me. So gingerly we do. This is the first time I've had to do this. But I knew that this has to be done. And the reason for it is maintenance up a mast, right? To check the shrouds, check the inner shrouds, check the stays. And this mission, this is all about the spreader bars. So what I'm doing here is I've got bits of pre-cut lengths of cordage or thin rope. It's about 100 kilo rating. And I'm just going to be tying it around the mast, putting a rolling hitch on it, and then tying it around the ladder. Come on, trying to get the bit of string out without it all falling. And this is tricky. One hand wrapping around, so a harness is going to come in handy, but this is all part of it. Eventually I'll be able to install another pulley at the top, and that'll be its own independent. I'll run another halyard pretty much. And I also need to go up the top, fix the Windex and the what's the terminology for it? There's a rope at the end of the boom, something lift, right? Just to help keep the boom parallel. And that takes the strain off the gooseneck. So this is tricky. Hanging on with one hand, I've got to lean back a little bit. I'm pretty sure there was a moment or two where I actually put it in my mouth whilst holding on with the other hand. And then I realised, hang on, if I lean forward, I can actually tie the knot forward of the mast with two hands, or inside the ladder. There we go. I think I figured it out there. I think I changed tactics, put in a rolling hitch. You'll see that'll turn up later on in the video. And so the idea of this is to tie off incrementally to the left, to the right, at an estimated distance, just to give me a redundancy if the halyard was to give out or anything was to give out, that the ladder is still fastened to the mast and it wouldn't shift abruptly to the side. I've got it down the bottom, it's got rubber footing and it's at enough of an angle. I'm confident that if the halyard was to give away, it wouldn't slip out, and that the cordage has enough shear strength to hold my out of condition body. Let's not muck around here, but if you've ever wanted to see an Oompa Loompa climb a ladder, here's the perfect moment. There you go. I think that's the part where I figured out, hang on, let me work this way. So the spreader bars are the issue, and wait until you see what I end up seeing and go, well, there you go. So we need to fix that. But all of this really is a trial run, just to get familiar with how the boat moves. And I'm very fortunate that this weather was just pristine, as no swell, and as you can see, there's not too much movement. But that's also the reason why I'm moving in a gingerly way. I'm mindful of my movements. I'm on the water, okay? So I'm just being mindful to eliminate as much stress as I can on the mast, on the line, on the tie-off lines, on the cleats, just as much as I can. Right, so we've done that. I've obviously made the executive decision. Yeah, that'll do for now. And then I realised, hang on, as you can see here, I'm hanging on to the inner shrouds, which just makes it so much easier to traverse. So you can see a bit of movement, and if you were to look closely, you can see how that line, that yellow line there, or the halyard, how it slacks and tauts, slats and tauts. It's doing a good job. I mean, I must be around 80 kilos, somewhere in there. Okay, yeah, look up. Right, we got to go back up there again, but for now, let me just grab my coffee. Well done, lad. Have a sip. You beauty. Charge her up. Now you'll see when I step over, yeah, that works well. Grabs it. So all these little things I'm working out. So let me just turn the camera off here. Give you a little bit so you can see the halyard there. See how it's going through the ladder, around the mast, around the cleats, and then woven up, and then tracking back up to the top. The halyard is up the top there. That's how I pulled the ladder up. And you can see the hinges, so it's a fold-out ladder. It's a good little score, actually. Got it for this purpose. Oh, beautiful day. Like, look at that. Just look at that. Absolutely stunning. But it's these beautiful days that are the best days to work. So here we are. You're going to have a bit of a POV. You can see as you go, see how I've got the halyard just woven in there. And here's those little bits of tie-offs that I was using. That's just, there you go, checking it too. Rolling hitch, that's all I've done. Just a rolling hitch either end. So one to the right, one to the left. Shouldn't have gone, I went around the rung there. I wasn't meant to do that. And then you'll see this is where the inner shrouds are. So we're getting up to the, oh, I missed one. There we go. What was I? Coming up with another idea. Alright. Okay, I don't know what was happening in my ingenious mind there. Maybe I had another idea and then I forgot. So bear with me. Well, we'll check out the view while we're up here. Look at this. Look at this. Absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. When we're up a fair way, and this is only at the spreader bars. There's my aft roof, which I need to fix up. He's a good looking boat, isn't he, Whistling Duck? He's a good looking boat. And so there we are, that's the top. I'm a little shy. So here's the spreader bar. So here's the big mission, right? So all I'm doing here really is inspection. And this is a bit tricky because I've got a camera and I've got no harness. Just, hang on. So here we go. So you can see here what's going on. See that big split? And rivets are missing. And I'm not sure if all of these holes are part of the factory. Different size rivets. So the stresses have been different. And you'll see here just how far it's hanging out. So there's like a lot of movement. That's buckled. So there's been a lot of stress. And obviously I've got to take that nut off. Yeah, so there you go. That's not good. That's not good, Jan, is it? That needs to come off. Obviously. Have another look at that. Just absolutely stunning. I'm getting a little distracted by the view. I'm like, man, this is so good being up here. So here's the other side, and look, pretty much the same. Just all sorts of rivets. Cracks in the same, or splits in the same place. And so I'm of the impression that there's only meant to be 3 rivets and this nut. 3 large rivets and this nut. And so the owner before me, or even before him, may have thought, hang on, let me put extra rivets in. But by drilling those extra holes, I feel that that's actually caused more fatigue in the metal itself, because it's thin, but it's pretty strong. So here's my little tool setup with the drill, and I'm just using soft shackles. Thank you to Dominic Tarr, by the way, for showing how you can just make these super soft shackles. There we go, just a loop. And then I've got the good old silicone hooked in on the belt. So like I said, this is all a dry run. Now this is Sally's roof and gutter. A roof and gutter silicone, to me, is some of the best silicone that you can have. It has a sealing property, it has an adhesive property, and it has flexibility properties. So here we go. And I've got the rivet gun. I'm thinking, hang on, you can go in there, buddy. Yeah, there we go. You'll be okay. And so, yeah, I'm sort of double handling, but I'm working out the kinks now. I took advantage of this weather. I got the lather set up prior on another fine day, and then, as I'm saying, this is just mission, check it out. Operation, check it out. And easy old fella. No, nothing old about it. That's a silly mentality, really, isn't it? But like I said, it's mainly, I just don't want to put unnecessary stress on the shrouds, on the stays, even on the halyards, on the halyard that I've got tied off on Sitting Pelican, on his mast. And so, you know, here we go. Drill out the rivets, right? Drill out the rivets, remove that nut, and I'm just figuring it out. Okay, is this the best way? How do you hold the drill? What's the effectiveness? Is this going to be the best way to go about it? Maybe I could pop the rivet just through leverage. And I'm hanging on, and I tell you, this is not stressful, but there's a lot of strain and there's an awkwardness to it. Because you've got to hang on with one hand. Obviously, anyone will say, well, that's what a harness is for. And you're absolutely right. And that's probably a comment from someone who's just seen my video. But hey, I appreciate the comment and I appreciate the view. And part of the ethos here, life on a wooden boat, but behind Iron Wake Maritime, is about, hey, doing what you can with what you have. So it just means about what can I do with what I have just to contribute to the momentum of doing things. Okay? So you don't get caught up dancing with all your excuses and wasting your energy. Okay? This is the part where I'm thinking, hang on. Just caveman it. And then obviously the voice of reason says, hang on, buddy, hang on. Maybe that's not a good idea. Because let's think about it. You do have enough base at the moment. Right, hang on, go back to your drill. Maybe just drill these rivets out because there's enough fastening points where if I drill out the rivets that are there, that I can create some type of fastening that's more adequate than what it is right now. Let's remember that. When you're doing any type of work, you need to ask yourself the question, okay, I understand that this is not the best, but is it better than what it currently is? And if it's a yes, then we can move forward with that to lead us to where we can do a better job. And so whilst I'm up there, this is the thought process I'm going through. Because it's a little bit awkward, and somewhere along the line, I'm thinking to myself, hang on, yeah, I need to get a harness. This is getting awkward. This is getting really awkward. I'm putting stress on both of my hands. Well, not stress. That word, let's get rid of that word. But there's a strain, right? There's a muscular strain. And through muscular strain, there's also a strain on the nervous system. I was trying to get around and get the force. And my hand. Let me try and, maybe I've got to get, if I get up higher. See, this is what I'm doing. I'm working all of these things out. Why not? Why not try and work it out first so that the next day, all those little variables or annoyances or frustrations, I've already dealt with them. And that's pretty much what you're sort of witnessing here. And that's what I'm giving an explanation to, or the voiceover or the narrative. And that's part of feeding the momentum. You know, what is it that I can do with what I have? This is what I have. This little drill. I've got the Telstra rope. Okay. And because I've never done this. And there's no real bare bones basic how to do it on your own out there on the YouTube. So I'm making a contribution to that type of content so that people can see. And obviously you're going to make critique. I get it, because you get to see from the grandstand, right? You get a broader perspective, and that's good. You know, I'm glad that I can be part of you thinking of a better idea, and then you can put that into play. Yeah, I'm still tempted. I'm still tempted. It's shaky. But also, what I was doing there too, which is just looking at the angles. Maybe if I slit it that way, it'll take a bit of pressure off the base, and that could be easier to drill out the rivet, because if it's in a certain position, that's going to be putting pressure on the rivet, making it harder to drill out. I think the brain's ticking. See how I'm leaning? I think what I'm doing there is I'm leaning, getting an idea. Okay, so if I did have a harness, yeah, that's what I'm doing here. If I did have a harness, I'd be about here. I could relax, take this pressure. What's the ladder doing? What's the boat doing? What's the mast doing? Because I'm looking up too, and I'm looking at the stays, because I've got to remove that nut, right? And that's on the inner shrouds. So I'm going through this thinking process. Well, hang on. What if I tie a pressing knot above the spars? I think this is what I'm going through. And then I'll run 2 lines forward of the mast. You can see, right, yeah, that would go forward, and then they would tie off the bowsprit. And what I'm looking at here too is, what if I did a rolling hitch from one spreader wrapped around the mast to the other spreader, and then that would give some forward tension, and then there would be some pressure on the spars themselves, and that might take the pressure off the base plates to a certain degree. And there is a system. I have seen a similar system that's done with a clampage, and it goes forward of the mast, comes around to the other spar. So I'm going through this thinking process. Remember, what can I do with what I have? And this is what I'm looking at. Okay, we've got the split, mate. I don't know if I could get those nuts. Let me just have another go. Keep hanging on and then trying to bring up this drill with one hand. I've definitely made the decision that the harness is a crucial part. And I have looked up some videos on how I could do that. And the way to do it will be just, I'll have a stronger gauge rope. I'll do a pressing knot, and then I'll just run a soft shut through that and then onto the harness. So I'll be through the ladder onto the mast, and then all I've got to do is just unclip from the soft shackle, slide up the pressing knot as I climb up, and then hook back on. So that'll make life so much easier. But I'm in there. I'm having a crack, because I know the job needs to be done, right? Because I do have a mission to take this sailing boat, Whistle and Duck, to another marina, because unfortunately the slipway at the boat club and the people operating seem a little reluctant to accommodate the fact. I need a particular tide. The tide needs to be higher. These type of things. And to me, if you're in a boat club, it should be about how can we be of service to the people who are club members, who live on their boats, and even own a boat in this bay, of which, to me, the boat club is of service. So down we go. I think I'm going to just call it a day, because there are little extra things that I've got to do. Like I said, go up, I've got to run 2 lines forward, tie them off, or do a trucky's hitch onto the bowsprit, because when I undo that nut, those inner shrouds, yeah, they're holding a lot of tension. So that's going to be a tricky one. Then that'll put strain on the mast. No, we don't want that. You can see that line way up the top, that's the halyard, that's a spinnaker halyard, and I've got that going over to the mast on Sitting Pelican. I didn't want it to be too taut, but there you go. See, as I hop off, just holds it. So it did pretty good. But thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Every view, every like, every comment, it all adds up, and you're part of that. Thank you.